very much been looking forward to being with all of you at the commencement. But even though we cannot be physically together, I'm delighted and honored to be here with you virtually to celebrate this milestone moment in your lives. And even though no one would have wished for the disruption, uncertainty, and for so many very real suffering of these times, we can still decide what to do with the time that is given us. So it's up to you to see it not just as a crisis, but also as an opportunity to build a better world that transforms so much that has not been working in the world we're leaving behind. And there are three big things that need to change if we're going to move through this crisis into a world better than the one that came before. First, we need to imagine a future that is more compassionate toward the most vulnerable among us. Indeed, the people most vulnerable are those who are the least paid, even as their work is deemed most essential. From the nurses, caregivers, social workers, and other first responders, to the grocery and delivery workers on the front lines of the crisis. When all else is stripped away, we are learning what is truly essential and what isn't. Maybe we can imagine a world where we don't just have endless conferences bemoaning the growing inequalities and discussing the need for inclusive capitalism, but instead move on to actually doing something about it. The second thing that needs to change is our cultural delusion, which wasn't working anyway, that burnout is the necessary price we must pay for success. We need to shift our entire culture away from an always-on, perpetually stressed out, fight or flight state of being and reconnect with some essential truths we have forgotten. Just a few weeks ago, as we went about our busy lives talking about how slammed and swamped we were with work, always on the edge of burnout, there were plenty of signposts along our path directing us to keep climbing up the ladder. But there were almost no signposts reminding us to stay connected to the essence of who we are, to take care of ourselves along the way, to reach out to others, and to connect to that place that unites us in our humanity and from which everything is possible. The third thing that needs to change if the new normal is to be better than the old one is that we should stop living in the shallows, that we stop hurting our health and our relationships by striving so relentlessly and breathlessly after success as the world defines it. We have been missing what every philosophical and spiritual tradition tells us, that there is a place of wisdom, peace, and strength in each one of us. We need to reacquaint ourselves with it. Yes, of course, no one would have wished to live through this time and all the grief and suffering we wake up to in our own lives or in the headlines each day. But it is always during the hard times, whether personal or collective, that we are shaken out of our routines to find true purpose and meaning. This is the great challenge in front of us. In the midst of untold suffering, we are being reminded of something our modern culture has forgotten, that there are two threads running through our lives. One is pulling us into the world to achieve and make things happen. The other is pulling us back from the world to nourish, replenish, and refuel ourselves. If we ignore the second thread, it is much harder, especially during these times, to connect with ourselves and with those around us. As many a philosopher from every tradition has said, to truly know the world, you have to first know yourself. To quote just one of them, Lao Tzu, knowing others is knowledge. Knowing yourself is wisdom. As future leaders, you have more power than most to bring about these changes. The decisions you make and what you choose to prioritize will directly shape the new world we're moving into. And there is no better way to mark this moment than to commit as individuals and as the class of 2020 to meeting that challenge, creating a world that is more compassionate, ending our collective delusion that we must burn out to succeed, and remembering to connect to that sacred place within us along the way. One of our mottos at Thrive Global is onward, upward, and inward. And this is even more relevant during this time of crisis. You wouldn't be where you are today if you weren't pretty good at the onward and upward part. But going inward, which in normal times is so hard to prioritize, is now one of our greatest opportunities. Because when we learn to connect with ourselves and our fundamental values, we can tap into the wisdom, peace, and strength we need to not merely survive, but thrive as we navigate this new normal. So, class of 2020, thank you for letting me mark this moment with you, and congratulations, onward, upward, and inward.